talking about Same Door.
Talking about Same Door. Yes.
Same door.
What's the genesis of that song?
The genesis of it.
Yeah.
So the music was written when I was in college, mostly, and it was written to a different set of lyrics. It was called "Living Alone," and if you think the Same Door is depressing, "Living Alone" would just pretty much knock you out for the day. Then I started collaborating with a guy by the name of John Fisher, and we used I think a TAC 4-track reel-to-reel and put together a bunch of songs. And when we played them, the one that kind of jumped out as being different and interesting was the Same Door.
No.
But yeah, so it started back then, and doing a re-recording of it with Mark was really cool. I mean, it was kind of nostalgia for me.
What comes to mind for me is Groundhog Day.
Uh-huh.
Every day is the same. Every day
Yeah.
is, and he couldn't break out of that, Bill Murray in that movie. And, what broke him out of it was love. And I'm
Uh-huh.
kind of wondering if that is what you kind of felt when you were doing those lyrics.
Well,
Something gets you out of it.
what I would say about the lyrics is I think there's enough unsaid in the lyrics that anyone who listens to it can kind of fill in their own narrative that goes along with it.
In the production, this one you came over to my studio and we started it here and did all the basic tracks, right?
All the tracks were done at your house.
In Logic on my computer.
Yeah.
And then we emailed them to you, Mark.
And I think we
Yeah.
sent Mark like a whole pile of vocal tracks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing the producing kind of thing, what I'll do is I'll take 5 or 6 different tracks. This is something that I, as a producer, had mentioned in the last podcast we did, is I tend to grind these songs into the dust, right? And so I was like, Tom, send me 16 vocal tracks, and he sends me that many or whatever it is, right? And I go through every single one of them, and I'll take certain phrases out of one and grab another phrase out of another one until what I have is what I believe to be the absolute perfect vocal track. And of course, the vocals are very important because they're up front. So you need to spend a lot of attention on them. And so in Same Door, it was really easy because it was a really great lead vocal.
And what program were you using? Do you use?
I use Sonar Band Lab, which ended up, it goes all the way back to Cakewalk. Cakewalk was a very popular sequencer that turned into a digital audio workstation. And then it lived its life. It ended up getting towards the end. And actually, Mark and I worked a lot with Sonar. He was more of an Apple person at the time, but he took the time to learn Sonar, which is really amazing to learn 2 DAWs because there's a lot of work learning one. And then if you learn 2, it's amazing. Right?
Well, I didn't spend too much time with Sonar when I realized probably the best way to do it, since I'm working with Pro Tools, all I needed to do was have Mark make solid sound files for each track, starting at 0, always starting at 0, and going to the full length of the last longest track. And each audio track would be that thing. And he would just send me the audio tracks. I'd throw it into Pro Tools, and then I could do everything I needed to do with what I was experienced with.
So actually, Tom, I want you to kind of remind me. I remember doing guitar parts on that song, but it's not crystal clear exactly which ones I was doing because it was a strong keyboard song, as I remember.
Yeah, you put the intro in that gave a little bit different flavor at the beginning. And then there's a solo break in the middle, and you filled in a guitar part there, which fit in really, really well. Otherwise, I don't know if there was a whole lot more guitar that you needed to put on it.
Right. Right. That's what in my mind, what I remember doing is it was kind of icing on the cake that was already there. And
Yeah.
I didn't do a lot of vocals either.
No, I think you mostly played with the tracks we sent you.
Right. Right.
And
Yes.
I remember talking, so it's the first time I'd had experience working with you on a song. And it blew me away, the attention to detail and almost obsessive attention to detail that you put into it.
Definitely obsessive. Definitely. No question.
Taking virtually every note and maybe making little pitch corrections here and there and lining things up, and just, it just seemed to me like you put in just a ton of work to polish up those vocals. And, I would just say, from all the recordings I've heard, there's a sound that I can kind of pick out, that I can tell when Mark's done the vocals.
And that is a huge, huge endorsement and a very huge confidence builder. And I want to thank you guys both for saying that. I had a lot of training doing the earlier Mark Praying the Hunter stuff. I just was completely floored by the quality of these 3 songs that we're going to be talking about today. Just the composition, the level of composition, the strength of purpose of the lyrics, everything. It was just top notch. And so it was just very easy to work on because of that. I think, Tom, didn't you say you wrote these songs a while ago, right? With the guy named Fisher? Did you say his name was Fisher?
Yeah, The Same Door was written, the music in college, and then not long after that. So yeah, that's an old song.
This one, and we'll be talking about Down to Earth next. Yeah, that's the one that I really just went absolutely nuts over. Listen to a bit of it right now.
All right.
My time has come to open my eyes, recreate my zone. Reality, can we agree, is not only yours, ours to hold and so. You bring me right back down to earth, and when I fall it always hurts.
So Tom, genesis of this one.
This one was another one that John Fisher had written the first draft of the lyrics, and I did the crudest demo possible. I have no recollection of writing the song. In fact, this was one where when I was going through some old CDs, or maybe even cassette tapes, I stumbled on it, and at first I didn't really even recognize it. I'd forgotten that I ever wrote the thing. And it seemed like it had like a kernel of a hook in there that maybe something could be done with it. So I sent that demo to Mark, and by the time it was finished, I guess it was the same song, but it had transformed in a major way. First of all, Mark did most of the lead vocals. I think he filled all the harmony parts in on the chorus. Did quite a bit of arranging on the song so that it made a little bit more sense. And yeah, it was just a whole new song by the time Mark had finished with it.
The thing that I see in any of these is essentially it does help. I mean, a producer's job is to be there to kind of be as objective as possible, even if they're really close to the song, but they're offering that objective look and bringing up thoughts about it that perhaps the other artists didn't even think of. And they're like, wow, okay, yeah, why don't we add a little part like that to spice it up only in that spot only, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's producer's job. We did Same Door first, right?
Right.
And,
right.
That's right.
And then Down to Earth. And then we kind of thought that we were through with your songs, Tom, until you came over once and we were in my studio and you said, well, let's this other one that I've got, let's just lay down some parts. And like an hour later, we had all the parts down for Stolen Moments. And I remember when we first played it back, you and I were listening in the headphones, just looking at each other going, holy crap, this is amazing. We got to send this to Mark. And that's when I sent it to you, Mark, and you said, yeah, send me those files.
Yeah, that was this was a really kind of a interesting and exciting and sleepless and time for me. And here I am, buried up to my frickin' eyeballs in these songs that I love so much, and I was just pouring my heart and soul into these songs. And Down to Earth, I think Tom nailed it, is that you can kind of tell, because Down to Earth was a song that I knew was going to be a vehicle for every single moment of experience and love that I had for music was going to get poured into that song. And it did. And yeah, the call response in the beginning of our vocals, Tom, where I'm doing the low part and then you come in with the higher part. It's just really, really cool and fits beautifully together. And, the chorus does an amazing sort of a hook. Let's just listen to a bit of it right now. What do you say?
Why can't you? Why don't you? Why won't you understand the power, the glory are like rings of sand? You bring me right back down to earth, and when I fall it always hurts. All my hopes,
It just occurred to me that, I think what you ended up putting in is the intro, and then also has like a guitar break in the middle of that song.
Right.
That was another one that I wrote in college, and I put my own lyrics to it. Kind of had a whole song structured around that little riff there. And then when I was I guess I must have stolen it from myself when I wrote this, what I thought was a throwaway. I really did. I thought, when I heard it later, I thought, well, I don't remember doing this, and it's kind of interesting, but I'm not really sure. But the most interesting part to me was that I had stolen it, from my earlier days.
I know exactly what part you're talking about, and it's like almost a 80s style synth. That I remember I was struggling with it and Mark was actually helping me at this time with it. If I did audio quantizing on it, so everything's where it's supposed to be, it didn't sound right. It didn't feel right.
Well, it's all pushes. There's tons of pushes.
The whole song is pushes, and especially during that keyboard part.
Yep.
And when everything was in its perfect place, I would listen to it and go, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right. And then what I ended up doing, and Tom, I don't think I've ever told you this because I spent a bunch of time on that, obviously, because it's really important, is I ended up going back to where you originally had performed it. It's like, oh, look, I fixed it. And no, it's not fixed. It may be quantized, but it isn't right. And so I ended up doing that. And Todd, I think we should listen to a little bit of that part in that song right now. I think that's important for the viewers.
Cover Stolen Moments now, one of Tom's famous songs that went worldwide, and millions and millions of people love it.
Let's hear a bit of it.
Yeah, all right.
every day. The same door, in and out, the same door. The same names, the same places too. There has got to be more. Every night.
Another one that little guitar lick at the beginning was again something I kind of noodled with in college, but didn't write the rest of the song until probably 20 years later.
I thought the playing on the intro that Tom did was really, really well done, and I liked it. I liked the whole thing, but it really needed, it needed something, right? And that something ended up being a Martin D28 guitar being mic'd with a Neumann, and that really gave it kind of what it needed in my mind to be a proper intro. I
Uh-huh.
don't think I think I still used the part you had. I don't think I got rid of it, but
Did you double it?
I think, yeah, I ended up doubling it, and it created a really nice kind of layered sound between the Martin and the part that you did. And I
Uh-huh.
spent a ton of time on that because, I mean, as a guitar player, I found that part to be kind of challenging because
Uh-huh.
it involved, kind of the slack key kind of style where you're doing the alternating picking, and you know what I'm talking about, Tom, right?
Yeah.
And so to get that right, I needed to spend a time to learn it.
Yeah. I
So
probably
that's
shouldn't
what I
mention this.
remember.
I assume you figured out it was capoed on the third fret.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna
And
say without the capo, it wouldn't have been doable, I don't think. But
oh, there's no
yeah, but when
way
I
I
heard
would have done it without the capo. I mean, that was the
right,
only
right,
way because that's how you did it.
right, right.
So I thought that was um, another kind of emotionally touching song that you can almost feel the relationship as you listen to the lyrics, and you're kind of carried through the verse and the chorus and stuff. It's just like you could almost I mean, anyone that's been in love understands that song.
The first time I ever wrote a song was after I heard Someone Saved My Life Tonight, the Elton John song. And I kind of like the model he used where, he had a lyricist and he was writing the music. So most of the stuff I wrote over the years, I had a collaborator. And, when Todd and I wrote our disc together, we both worked on lyrics and kind of did it that way. When Todd and I first put it together and listened to it, I thought the song was all right, but then the version that we came up with, it did kind of hit me that, it came together pretty nicely. And then of course you worked your magic on it, and I was really happy with how that one came out.
The composition process is something that Tom and I have talked about, how difficult it is. And it's really difficult as we start getting older because it can be very draining to try to get whatever it is you have in your mind to words and music, and to do it in an efficient way. It's just not easy to do in general, but it
Uh-huh.
becomes more and more difficult to keep up a quality as we get older.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Tom, you and I have talked about this, but yet we didn't have the experience or perspective in order to come up with a polished product that we do now. So when you go back and you do a song that you composed in college, or a song that Todd and I did when we were in our 20s, it's kind of a special magic to do that because of
Yeah.
that reason.
Yeah.
Because you can put all the best technology and all the best ideas and all the experience that you had into something that meant a lot to us at the time.
There was a time when I was in college, instead of going to class, I just was writing songs all the time. That's all I did.
Right. And those are the
And
songs you need to dig up if you can find them. I have a thing called the goosebumps test.
Ah,
When I listen to a piece of music, and it's like, does it give me goosebumps the first time, the second time? Does it give me goosebumps the 50th time I've heard it when I put it on a repeat? If the answer is yes, it's stolen moments. That's the song.
really,
They're all like that though. All of your songs, Tom, are like that.
oh
And
yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that, Mark. That's humbling, and I understand the test you're referring to.
yes,
Uh, I was a big fan of 70s Genesis, and I thought that was a band that could do that for me. And no matter how many times I heard the material, it still had that effect. But it never occurred to me that I'd write anything like that. Because that's difficult. That's a difficult thing to pull off. And whether or not I did or not, I'm very flattered. That's very nice to hear.
now I'm starting to go away from Tom's stuff, but it's all Tom's stuff in a way. All of this is stuff
Oh
that
yeah,
you've worked on. You've worked on all of it, Tom, and
it's on all of it.
we all have as Party Chicken Ballet.
Do you guys
Right.
ever talk like get into the music, kind of the composition, the theory kind of stuff?
No.
When you go,
No.
you guys, do you mean me and Todd?
Yeah. In your
Yeah, I do.
prior series of podcasts, because I did want to say on Stolen Moments, I think and Mark, you'll remember this. We had a
Mhm.
conversation about the bridge on
Yep,
that
I
song.
remember. Yes, I remember that.
And I think you were working with my vocals and trying to get them dialed in. And you made a comment, something about like you weren't quite sure where I was going with the bridge on it. And I have to say, but I'm not trying to like do any self-promoting or anything like that. And it was almost an accident. There was one chord change that I think was my favorite part of that song. That I don't know where in the world it came from, but the bridge starts out, it goes into it's E minor, then it goes to C, and then to B minor, and then somewhere along the way, I thought the next chord ought to be an F major seven. Was that just an F7? And when it threw that in there, it just hit me like it almost had a Billy Joelish kind of sound to it. And then it followed up with I think an augmented A and an augmented B, that kind of thing. But I just remember when you heard it and talked to me about it, I think you were maybe thinking I should either rewrite that or scrap it or do something with that bridge because it is out there.
One of the things that I noticed, and you can agree with this or disagree with this, and I mentioned this to Todd earlier, is that I felt on some of those vocals on that song that you were channeling John Lennon.
Uh,
And it's really, to me, when I hear that lead vocal,
uh-huh,
I'm thinking this is starting over, sort of vocal.
uh-huh.
And again, as if I haven't been, surprised enough by your, composition and your playing and your singing. When I realized that it was that good, I was thinking, I mean, people need to hear this song and all these songs that you do. So we need to figure out a way to really market these songs. And I think that these songs deserve it, right? Because of stuff like that, right?
Well, I appreciate that. I am not a fan of my voice, as I think you know, and so that's why I was thinking, who would be better singing this?
Mhm.
And my answer was just about anybody else. But I do have a little, I suppose, that little nasally quality that John Lennon gets
It
sometimes.
does. It really does. It really does.
But when we were working on this in Todd's studio, we did three separate lead vocals, and I tried to get just the inflection, the pitch, everything identical on all three of them. And I think Mark, you ended up using all of them, if I'm not mistaken,
I
at
did
some
my
point.
usual thing, which is to take the best of all of the tracks
Okay.
And that was something that that's my idea of grinding a song into the dust, and Mark's
Yeah.
too. Mark is the same way as I am. I'm just the kind of person that, like you said, attention to detail is
Uh-huh.
so critical, for me. And you're playing, and Todd's playing, and it's really a match made in heaven, because there is lots of detail in your music, and that's
Uh-huh.
why this worked really well, I think.
I was going to
Thank
say
you.
too
Thank
that,
you.
when Todd and I first got together, I mean, I think we played Scenic Route was one of the songs we had on our list,
We got to get
which I
that
think
one in. We got to
is
do
a
that
song
one.
you guys are yet to redo
We need to do
and
that
kind of
one.
modernize.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if there were others, but I know I listened to the Todd or the Mark Prey and the Hunters disc enough to get to know those songs, and it's hard for me to imagine that you guys didn't, get a record contract and get a bunch of records out with that stuff. It was really, really good stuff.
Right.
And I know that's not the topic here, but I just thought I'd mention that I've been listening to that stuff since I guess the mid '90s when Todd first started passing it along.
Wow.
So to be able to work with you on this, I had no doubt in my mind you were gonna come up with something really good. But when I heard the final results, I just thought, wow, this guy can produce.
These songs are available and can be heard and purchased even digitally on all over 150 streaming services, including Spotify and Apple Music. It's an album called Where Have All the Idols Gone by Party Chicken Ballet. And you can order it on vinyl. I just thought I'd throw that in there where people can acquire these songs.
A great way to do this is, you hear the word producer being bandied about a lot, and it can mean a great many different things. It can mean who has the money. It can mean who has the studio. It can mean who has the chutzpah. But
Typically, with as far as the money goes, that's usually is listed as executive producer.
So let's say some final words.
yeah, Todd, I'll let you do
joining
that.
us today on Hunters on Music Production, the second episode.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And thanks for having me as well.
Well, of course. What? You're one of the hosts.
Well, I just have to thank you,
Well, you're
Yes,
welcome.
and I want to thank all you guys, but a special thanks, of course, goes to Tom Beard for doing this with us, but also your contributions to the music that we've been doing over the years now has been, for me, incredibly special and incredibly, momentous, for me, because it's some of the best stuff I've ever worked on. And Tom, I want you to know that is 100% heartfelt.
Well, I really appreciate that, and this is just a blast. I mean, it's just a lot of fun to do it. I mean, working with guys who are just great guys, and the results have been really great. And I think this might be my first podcast appearance, and that's been really great. So it's all great. Everything's great.
So it's great you said.
Well, Todd,
Well,
Todd, I think you should lead us into the outro
Okay.
with a bit of Down to Earth.
Okay. I will play Down to Earth as we leave. And I'd like to thank everyone who has tuned in to our little podcast here. And hopefully we'll see you next time.
I feel so good.